point that we went through the entire manual.
The entire standard, every criteria,
point
every
by
single
point,
one.
and discussed it openly with everybody, got everybody's input. What do we think? Why is this hard? Why is this easy? How's best to go about it? We talked about it to death. And then we started implementing and putting the right people in place. So that was hard. And also just changing, and I'll give you a small brief story just to kind of highlight. I remember when the pre-auditor came down and we were doing the pre-audit, we were walking through the packing shed. I was walking with Iris, and I don't know if you were there, and I don't think you were there, just me and Iris.
I was on that one.
And the fair trade auditor. And again, she was giving us a pre-audit just to know where we stand. Yeah. And she asked a question on the line. She said, what if somebody cuts themselves on the line where you're packing? What happens? I immediately answered because I'm very familiar with food safety. I know what has to happen. You immediately stop the line. You have to sanitize. Product that was on the line, everything has to be tossed. These boxes, this has to be thrown. This has to be moved. And then I gave my spiel about food safety. And then she asked me, well, what about the worker? And I was like, that's right. What about the worker? And even though there is a protocol, right, the worker knows where to go. That's not part of what I said.
Right. But that was right. It's interesting because that shows also, like, sometimes you might be thinking something in your head, but you need to know what the right thing is to say.
And not only to say, but and she has a point. The thing is that we're so focused on food safety. Also, we have to remember, like, with the work they're doing, does the worker know where to go? Who's the boss? Does he know where the first aid kit is? The boss, if it's just a little cut, okay, whatever, does she know what to do? Like, go home? If it's a bigger cut, do they know to go to our infirmary or where their infirmary is? Those type of little things, which of course they need, but that wasn't part of my answer. Right. And that wasn't part of my thought process because, again, it's a cultural shift in that sense. Because we're all tuned to food safety and everybody knows
it's everything towards the product.
And we have the pieces in place, but we don't talk about it.
And basically refocusing on thinking about the employee.
Exactly.
Correct.
And we were doing right by our employees and by their families and by their children. But then it's, again, maybe we had like an electrical outlet there that wasn't locked. Right. And somebody could come with a wet hands and just grab it. So it's like, okay, put a lock there and put a sign that says, do not touch or only authorized personnel. So those were the things that we had to implement. Like, okay, so there's the room where all the cleaning supplies are, the powder, chlorine or whatever they use. Does it have a lock?
Right.
To prevent that somebody who's not authorized, who doesn't know how to handle these products, goes in there and touches something that they shouldn't. Nothing's terrible is going to happen to them. But you don't want their eyes irritated or their skin or anything, right? So it was these were the many little things that we had to tackle. But then again, it wasn't anything major like, okay, now we have to build housing for our entire workforce.
Or we have to completely redo the housing that we have in order to make it
up to code.
You were already in code.
We're already there. We're already doing the right things.
And fair trade usually goes by the law of the land. And then a little more in some cases, right? So then they verify, okay, so you're doing this, you're paying because many companies, unfortunately, child labor, it's like one big thing, one big no for Fair Trade USA, of course, which we didn't do. Actually, we go as far as in Mexico, teenagers as young as 15 can work in jobs that do not affect their moral, physical, and mental integrity.
Okay.
But you have to be able to prove to the government all these things that I just said, Garland Hatfield, he's 15 and a half, and this is what he does, these are the hours, he still goes to school, but you have to be really be able to prove that. So we figure, let's not even mess with that.
So you're not even dealing with that.
We just go 18 and over.
18 and over, and then,
Correct.
Okay. And can I ask you something else, like in terms of, a couple of things triggered my thoughts. Like with the employee, of what does the employee know what to do? So I guess training and communication with the employees and do you have these, when you were strategizing, did you have like meetings with the employees to find out what their issues and concerns were?
Well, here's the thing with that.
Okay.
We were already, because part of our exhaustive food safety program that we've had, and actually in the conventional world in Imperial Valley, we were one of the pioneers of the food safety. We were one of the first growers. We were the first grower in the Imperial Valley, Mexicali Valley, to implement food safety. So we have a very extensive food safety program. We translated that to organics when we started in the late 80s, early 90s. And part of that is exhaustive trainings.